And welcome again to the big match. I suppose it's questionable in football who's been written off most times, Jimmy Greaves or Dennis Law. Well, in today's programme, we have proof that both are a long way from finished yet. Also, the greatest day in the life of a 16-year-old, Derek Johnston of Glasgow Rangers. But our main match today is Crystal Palace against West Ham.
Greaves going on, and now Hurst, can he turn it back? No, good work by Jackson.
Also, Manchester United against West Bromwich Albion.
And Aston's header, and Cantillo off Ribber's body.
And Scotland's showpiece, Celtic against the Rangers. And delighted to welcome as our studio guest today, Tommy Taylor, the teenager who's just cost West Ham £78,000. And he'll be talking, of course, to Jimmy Hill. Yet one more look at that really remarkable Rodney Marsh goal from last week. And we shall also be asking, do you like your footballers with long hair or with short? But now it's action from Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace against West Ham. And odd to think that the league tables make West Ham the underdogs here. But it really has been a most brilliant season so far for the Crystal Palace club. And today they feel they're just about their strongest side, and there can be no doubt at all what a difference two ex-Chelsea men have made to that outfit, men that they bought in the summer from Stamford Bridge. Alan Birchinall, that fearless striker wearing the number 10, and Bobby Tambling, recently in great scoring form for the Palace. West Ham have been knocked a bit by injury, but there's still so much flair about them, and in the side today, for his second game in the First Division, is the fellow we've just seen in our studio, Tommy Taylor, from the Orient. And having his second game in a comeback is Brian Deere. The referee today is Ray Johnson from Lowestoft. The crowd is Palace's biggest of the season, over 41,000.
So Crystal Palace then, the side that have shocked so many people in the First Division and delighted so many in South London, get us away in a match which is so crucial to West Ham, although there are signs of late that they are halting their slide a little. But a West Ham side with only one win this season, and that was at home against Burnley. Tommy Taylor and Birchinall going in hard for that one. Jerry Queen, a flick on there for Birchinall, and Taylor just getting a foot to it. Birchinall turning it again, and Bobby Moore for West Ham. That's looking for Hurst. McCormick right there with Hurst. And now Sewell. To Blythe. A flick forward to David Payne. Tambling, scorer of 3 goals in the last 4 games for Crystal Palace. And a free kick. Kemba taking it quickly. Tambling. Kemba had such a magnificent under-23 game for England 10 days ago. And now Peter Wall. Jimmy Greaves now for West Ham. Brian Deere, the man who thought his career in the first-class game was finished when he was discarded by Fulham and by Millwall. And McCormick back to Jackson. Queen going hard for this one, and Queen winning it and finding Birchinall well. That was a good aggressive piece of running there by Jerry Queen. Oh, and a missed kick, and Kemba in hard on it. And now Bobby Howe. Peter Eustace for West Ham in their second strip, all light blue with those claret hoops, and Hurst not given offside. But nobody up there at all with him. Picture of Jeff Hurst there, you'll notice, shielded by John McCormick, and I imagine McCormick will be hoping to do that in every sense throughout the afternoon. But John Jackson, his 98th consecutive game for Crystal Palace, with the kick. Moore just about getting ahead to it, and Lampard in turn turning it back to Peter Grodier. Tony Taylor back to John McCormick. Wall right up, and Taylor, another very aggressive player, a Scot, but Eustace beating him, and the ball falling nicely there for Jimmy Greaves, with Bobby Howe outside him and Lindsay coming up on the outside as well. That's aim for Bobby Howe. Still Howe. And a goal to West Ham from Bobby Howe. with 5 minutes gone. My goodness, he took it well. In a fairly crowded penalty area, with good skills and a good finishing shot from Bobby Howe. So West Ham then into the lead with just 5 minutes gone. Well, I think the last time we did a West Ham match, Bobby Howe scored a really cracking goal against Chelsea. And now very quickly he's done it again. Jerry Queen, he's going to be quite a handful for Tommy Taylor. Taylor, the other Taylor, Tony Taylor with the kick. Peter Wall. That West Ham penalty area is so crowded. Birchinall at the far side getting ahead to it. But he must have used an elbow to lever himself up a little higher. Alan Birchinall. Well, exactly the start West Ham wanted. John Sewell there giving his orders. Kemba. But beaten there by Jimmy Greaves. And McCormick getting ahead of Hurst. Well, a good lively pace so far. Birchinall trying to come away from Tommy Taylor. And Tony Taylor now away with Bonds really streaking after him. And now Payne. And flicked away there by Jimmy Greaves, right back. Good break from midfield too by David Payne. And it was Jimmy Greaves right back on the edge of that 6-yard area who finally put it behind for this corner by Tony Taylor. Queen really leaping for it, but not quite getting it. And a free kick given for West Ham. Brian Deere with Mel Blythe watching him. Ball only just getting as far as Lampard. McCormick. Taylor to Birchinall. And now looking for Kemba. Played there for Taylor first time under that West Ham crossbar. Grotius got a deep for it. Queen was in hard on him and taking him unfairly. Lampard. Good piece of running here by Eustace. He's got Deere in the middle and Hurst as well. Greaves going across to help him. That's Jackson's. So quarter of an hour gone, and West Ham leading by Bobby Howe's goal, scored after 5 minutes. Wall. Birchinall going for it. Good control by Birchinall there, with his foot and on his chest as well. Good control for a big man like that. Payne playing that nicely off for Birchinall again. Kemba, good understanding here by Crystal Palace. Kemba across. Moore struggling to get it away. Payne played wide now for Taylor. Very good slick build up there by Crystal Palace and a corner. Good final tackle by Billy Bonds, which you can't take away from Crystal Palace. That really was a most skillful build up with Birchinall playing such a prominent part. Wall to put it across. And Jimmy Greaves getting ahead there first and doing a good defender's job. Jimmy Greaves. Still so odd to see him in a West Ham shirt after all those years at Tottenham. Birchinall again leaping for it. And Lampard away. Now Howe, good control. Eustace to Greaves. Hurst waiting forward, and Mel Blythe is with him. Hurst, can he flick it on? Jeff Hurst! Oh, just wide! Oh, and he's annoyed with himself, but he had nothing to be annoyed about, because he got a foot to that beautifully, but it was just a fraction of an inch wide. Perhaps even a gust of wind took it wide of that post, but a goal kick. Bobby Moore Back flicking it for Tommy Taylor. Eustace. Cut out by McCormick. What a good run by Kemba from a good pass by McCormick, chased by Taylor again, and again Taylor getting in. Wall. Birchinall calling for it in the air, Queen there as well, and Tambling too, and again Tommy Taylor up well. What a difference Taylor's made in the air to the West Ham defence at the back. David Payne, and a shot just passed by Payne, no more than a yard wide. Local boy David Payne, himself an England under-23 international. Payne again, and Bonds up well. Now Hurst. Payne to Kemba. Kemba again. There really is a zest about Crystal Palace this afternoon, even though they're this goal down. And now Greaves, with Deere ahead of him. Howe coming up on the outside, but Greaves has got to hold it until someone's in the good position. It's Eustace, with a shot just passed! From Eustace, fully 25 yards. Really had Jackson diving across that goal. Taylor again, very dominant in the air, getting head and shoulders above Birchinall, and now Greaves going on, and now Hurst, can he turn it back? No, good work by Jackson, but the whistle had gone. The whistle had gone for offside outside that penalty area. Birchinall to flick it on. Tommy Taylor. Oh, have it taken off his toe this time by Queen. Bonds closing in. Queen still. And Kemba going wide on the far side. Will he turn it back? But not enough. Tremendous acceleration that Steve Kemba has from those midfield positions into ones of real danger. West Ham's throw. And again, this time Jimmy Greaves going to take it. Howe trying to get away from Sewell. Greaves taking the return pass, and Howe going on as well. But he couldn't shake off two challenges. Alan Birchinall to Peter Wall. Oh, straight to Greaves. Now Greaves versus John Jackson. Oh, good work by Jackson. And the ball running nicely for Birchinall. As the whole of South London begins to find its voice again, and he's got Tony Taylor outside him. Birchinall again with a shot, tipped over by Grotier. Judged it well, Grotier, but this man Birchinall, when it's his day, oh, in fact, the referee has not given a corner, but clearly Grotier tipped that one over. He's given a goal kick. Birchinall rightly incensed. But there really can't be much doubt that Birchinall tipped that one over. Certainly that was my impression. But Mr. Johnson said no. By the look of it, Stevie Kemba wasn't very happy with it. Crystal Palace really getting into a good rhythm there. And a free kick now given to West Ham. Well, certainly it was a shot by Birchinall that deserved a little more than that. There's Birchinall in the middle of it again, and really, Mr. Johnson, and really Birchinall in this sort of mood is a very, very difficult forward to withstand. There's Birchinall again, Moore closing in fast on him. He knows he's got to. Good illustration there of Birchinall keeping possession of the ball, trying to make a bit of room for himself, make the right angle, getting men to go up ahead of him so that he can get a pass cross in, and as he puts it back to Jackson, the whistle goes for half-time, with West Ham leading by a goal to nil. Scored by Bobby Howe after only 5 minutes. Bobby Howe now going through the tunnel, obviously there he is, number 7, obviously very relieved indeed to put West Ham into that early lead. But a really exhilarating first half here at Selhurst Park, and still so much to come for you on the big match this afternoon. But the half-time score here is Crystal Palace 0, West Ham United 1. Back with more soccer for you in just a couple of minutes from now.
Can I remind you of the 4th round of the League Cup next Wednesday when we play Arsenal here at 7.
West Ham getting us away in the second half. West Ham, who've not scored an away win in their last 18 attempts, obviously hoping that they can preserve the lead that they've got already in this game. Here's Birchinall, I suppose above all the man most likely to deny them it, and Tommy Taylor taking a fair tumble there. What a baptism in the First Division for Tommy Taylor. Last week he did a good job on Martin Chivers. This week on Alan Birchinall and Jerry Queen, with Bobby Moore to help him, of course. But what a baptism. He really so far has survived it very well indeed. So it's Wall with the free kick for Crystal Palace. McCormick right in there. Coming loose for Kemba. Birchinall. Queen lifting himself. Claims for some handball there, and Birchinall very angry, running across to the referee. But in fact a corner's given. Birchinall really went streaking across there with the crowd howling. Obviously they saw more from their angle than we could have seen from ours. But a corner it is, and it's Peter Wall now, cutting inside Greaves. And another corner. Wall to take it. McCormick and Blythe right up in there as well. Wall putting it through. McCormick with a header, and Grotier really having to dive to get there a fraction before Jerry Queen. Here's McCormick, who made the header. John Sewell. Bobby Tamling. And now Payne. Played behind Tamling, and he couldn't stop quickly enough. Frank Lampard with the throw. Yeah, push in the back, certainly on Hurst by McCormick. West Ham wanting to take it quickly. And it's going to be Bobby Moore to take it forward. Howe bursting in on the scene again, and McCormick to get it away for Crystal Palace. Oh, good throw there by Lampard, and a good piece of running by Howe, giving him a free cross of the ball, and a corner. Sprang into a very open position there, Bobby Howe. Perhaps took a little more time with the cross than he need have done, and hence it was charged down, but he's got a corner for West Ham. And it's going to be Jimmy Greaves to take it. Eustace right in there calling for it. Hurst, of course. Eustace, in fact, getting ahead to it. Deere to turn it on. And Jackson down very quickly indeed by the post. From Brian Deere. So another corner to West Ham. And I suppose, but for John Jackson, West Ham could now be something like 3 goals ahead. But that's what Jackson's there for, and really he's put on a fine display for Crystal Palace. Here's Greaves. McCormick missing it, and Eustace not quite catching that properly. Tried to get it on the volley and really power it past John Jackson after McCormick had misjudged the header. Bobby Moore versus Jerry Queen. Now Tambling. Sewell. Queen. And Moore in very quickly indeed for West Ham. Birchinall. And Tambling right in there as well. Can he turn on it? Tambling being pushed. No penalty given. It looked very much like a push by Lampard on Tambling. But nothing given. And West Ham come away now through Jeff Hurst. Trying to shug off McCormick. Going in hard on the back of Hurst. And McCormick penalised, in fact. McCormick giving his version to the referee, but a free kick given. And it's going to be Bonds to take it. Lifting it towards Deer, but Mel Blythe again, head and shoulders. West Ham's throw. Deer. Bonds. Running out of space there, Bonds, and Blythe. But Bonds might get in again, but Kemba as tigerish as ever for Crystal Palace. Now Blythe. That's played for Sewell, with Eustace closing in on him. And Tambling couldn't keep it in. Tambling, who's been in such tremendous form for Crystal Palace, with 4 goals in the last 3 games. Now Hurst. Taking a fair bit of stick from McCormick, and Blythe hustled by Deer and hustled into giving away the corner. Blythe, if anything, just a little too casual, and Brian Deer, the number 11, was so quickly onto him. There's Mel Blythe. And now Jimmy Greaves then with the corner for West Ham. And Hurst, in fact, having a fair battle there, a good physical battle, well, not a good one, a very unpleasant physical battle, I would think, with John McCormick. David Payne. Howe going for him for all he's worth, and Howe unable to stop himself, and the free kick given to Crystal Palace. And now Queen. Will Queen be able to turn it in? He can! Jerry Queen! No, it's not given! Disallowed! The goal is disallowed, and that's the moment when Jerry Queen realised it. The linesman was flagging, and the referee agreed, and the point was disallowed. It could well have been that Queen was elbowing Tommy Taylor as he tried to get past, and in fact Taylor looks as though he might be in need of a little more treatment with his shirt to his face. But Crystal Palace for the moment looked as though they'd equalised, but it's still 1-0 then to West Ham. Now Sewell. Taylor there first with his head, beating Queen. McCormick. Taylor again. Kemba going in rather crudely after that ball had gone. But now it's Eustace. But not the sort of shot that he'd want. And obviously Tommy Taylor is a little bit dazed there still, having a word with Bobby Moore. Caught it just above his nose by the look of it. The crowd really getting behind Crystal Palace now. Kemba, Taylor, Queen, and Tony Taylor again. And Bonds, and Birchinall surely going well after that ball had gone. He must be stopped for that. And in fact, the free kick given to West Ham. And really there can be no boos from the crowd for that, because it looked to me very much as though Birchinall was going for Bonds well after that ball had gone. Here's Kemba, and Bobby Moore then with the kick. Deer. Played quite lamely though, straight to Steve Kemba. And now Sewell. Jerry Queen up well. And there must have been a free kick there. Would that have been given perhaps against Taylor for the foul on Queen? At any rate, it's a free kick to Crystal Palace. Only one of three to take it. In fact, it's going to be Steve Kember curling it towards the far post. Queen right in there as well. Birchinall just past. A little sick with himself, I would think. But it was one that had to be taken very quickly. Peter Eustace. To Bonds. Greaves. Bonds again. Now there really is a gap opening up ahead of Billy Bonds. Down goes Jackson. Played it just a fraction too far ahead of him, Bonds, to really be able to get in a powerful shot. He had to snatch at it a bit. Now Tambling. Sewell. Played towards the near post for Kember. Tony Taylor right in there as well. Is it a goal? It is! By Tony Taylor, sneaking in off that far post. Well, Taylor certainly turned very quickly on it, but he really didn't get any power at all in his shot. And it just sneaked in by that far post, with the dismay of Peter Grodier. And Crystal Palace draw level with a quarter of an hour to go. Well, now this really will be a test for West Ham, who looked as though they'd put their big slide behind them. Their results and their performances in the last month have looked just that little bit more promising. But now they can really expect a really fierce challenge from Crystal Palace in this last quarter of an hour. But here's Hurst, trying to lay it back for Greaves, but Wall to bring it away. Now Tambling. We really could have quite a finish here now. Greaves. For McCormick. Moore. Deere. Spent a lot of his afternoon, Brian Deere, taking balls on his chest and playing them very carefully back. And now Eustace. Oh, Hurst trying to run free. Will he get one onto his left foot? He couldn't keep it down. But he stole away from McCormick for just long enough to get in the shot. West Ham's top scorer, Geoff Hurst, with 8 this season. And now Jerry Queen is off, and Bobby Moore is with him. Trying to lay it back there for Birchinall with a shot just over. What a beautiful break by Crystal Palace. A long ball, and Birchinall and Queen between them, almost making something out of it. Well, a little happier there now, I would think. George Petchy still suffering a bit, but obviously this Crystal Palace bench very relieved to have got level. Blythe. I think Crystal Palace have played 7 games against First Division opponents from London since they got into the First Division. They haven't won one. The way it's going, it doesn't look as though they're going to win today, but a 1-1 draw very much on the cards, even though Howe now takes it up for West Ham. That should be John Jackson's. Tony Taylor. And there goes the final whistle. And so it's a draw, with goals by Bobby Howe putting West Ham ahead so early in the game, and then Tony Taylor equalising for Crystal Palace in the second half. But a good, strong and skillful game. And the final score here at Selhurst Park: Crystal Palace 1, West Ham United 1.
So an honourable draw, I think you'll agree. And interesting to see Jimmy Greaves, I thought, operating so freely and so well just behind those West Ham strikers. I'm wondering if that's going to be an extension on Jimmy's already brilliant career. Certainly it seems a man setting out on a brilliant First Division career is Tommy Taylor of West Ham, our guest today. But before we meet Tommy, let's talk to Jimmy Hill.
Well, just a pat on the back too for Jimmy Greaves for the way in which he did play in the middle of the field. He hardly missed a ball, and it may well be that he's going to play for a few more years in that position where it isn't quite as fierce for a man who's getting, shall we say, fractionally older. But anyway, West Ham yesterday I think might have kicked themselves for not extending their lead when they got that early goal. Crystal Palace not quite at their best, but on the other hand they fought with great enthusiasm to get the draw with which all London derbies seem to end. But let's have a look first of all at that goal, the goal that unsettled them, and a very good goal it was too. This is from our camera behind the goal. There's Peter Eustace on the ball. As it comes across the field, watch the West Ham running up front. There's Jimmy Greaves on the ball. Now watch this cross run. There's one player going outside, and there's the crisscross run which makes that space there for Bobby Howe. And he does very well. See the feint, pretends to play it, catches McCormack completely out, and just the most awkward shot for a goalkeeper. Down low, you've got to bend your knees and your trunk to get to it, and although it wasn't all that fast, it may have looked as if he could have got it, but I thought that was the most difficult timed shot to save. But in fact, as I said, Crystal Palace did fight back very hard and with great determination. They had a possible penalty and a goal scored which is disallowed, but in the end they got what sort of all Palace fans' hearts desired, this goal just near the end of the match. And it was Tony Taylor with tremendous enthusiasm. There's Bobby Tamlin on the ball, getting it. John Sewell, who had a splendid match, a near-post cross, but it's from this moment on that Tony Taylor scores what is an opportunist goal. Bobby Moore's there, he turns, look at it, isn't that annoying if you're a West Ham fan, but isn't it lovely if you're a Crystal Palace fan, because it's dribbling an inch inside the post, and there's the draw that everybody was after. Well, in fact, West Ham fans, of course, wouldn't have been satisfied with the draw because they thought they were on the way to a jolly good away win. But one man who's had two draws, the new West Ham player, Tommy Taylor, here with us today. Tommy, what did you think of that match yesterday?
I was pleased with the game yesterday and last Saturday as well.
Did you think yesterday was harder than the match against Tottenham?
Well, it was away from home. Away from home, so it must have been, yeah.
What about the men you had to mark? Martin Chivers was the first task, not an easy one because he's in great form at the moment.
Well, I had the players around me to help me. You know, I had Bobby Moore beside me, telling me what to do all the time, you know. I was in trouble.
What about yesterday's match then? Did you find Crystal Palace harder to handle? They make life difficult for you?
Well, they kept on cross-running, you know. And that you're looking at them, you know, go on, you take that one, I'll take this one, we're saying all the time. So you don't do so much running at the back.
Yeah. Does Bobby Moore help you with this?
You know, half time he comes out and tells you when you stand there, you know, don't do, you know, we won't do so much running. If he runs there, I'll have him. If I run over there, you can have him.
How much difference is there between second and first division football?
It's much quicker. You know, you've got to think quicker as well. They're putting the balls, you know, through instead of across the field more.
Mm. Yeah. Do you think a player can really fulfil himself in the second division, or do you think if he wants to get to the top, he's got to get in the first division?
I think you've got to get to the first division myself, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
You think you've got a lot to learn yet? Or
plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty.
But you're certainly young enough, and it's going to be a wonderful time, you know, while it all happens to you.
Oh, yeah, I've got the players around me to help me.
Yeah. Let's have a look at yesterday. There was a nasty appeal from Crystal Palace fans that Bobby Tamlin, in fact, was pushed. What did you think about that?
Well, tell you what, I wasn't, you know, I couldn't see because I was so interested, you know, watching everything was going round.
Well, that's a very diplomatic answer, but you couldn't see yesterday. Let's have a look now and see. Pushing is one of the penalty offences, and if pushing is one of the penalty offences, there goes Bobby Tamlin. Would you say that that was a push? Or would you say that it wasn't? I'll leave that for you to decide. There's the crash on the floor. I'm not going to embarrass Tommy Taylor because I think most viewers would have made up their mind, and certainly the Crystal Palace fans. What about the disputed goal, which brought that lovely bump on the end of your nose there? I must explain to viewers that you didn't have that before yesterday afternoon. What happened?
Well, as the fullback kicked it, you know, I thought he wouldn't have gone over the top of my head. So I've just, you know, kept with him, beside him. As I saw it go, I've turned, and when he's turned, he's punched me on the end of the nose.
Oh, that's rather nasty, isn't it, really? I didn't think that sort of thing happened in football today, but I'm sure it was accidental. But there's the very good ball from John Sewell, which catches you out. You see, you're turning now, and there's the clash. Look, that might be the elbow rather than a punch which gets you in the nose. And Jerry Queen goes on there and tucks it beautifully in the goal. But I must say, having seen that I think he went for you and obstructed you first, and I would put that one not in Crystal Palace's favour, and obviously you would from that position.
Oh, I would, yeah.
What about your future at West Ham? You're playing a slightly different role there. You've got a number 5 on your back to start with. Do you find this is more difficult than than the Orient role?
Well, when I was younger, I used to play number 5. You know, in the younger teams.
You're generally going to get the biggest fellow to jump against now in the attack. Are you looking forward to that?
Not really. No.
What about Joe Royal when you're playing against him?
But I don't know. You know, I've trained off him most probably. Trained off him.
Are you frightened a little bit of going and playing against these great first division players at 19 years of age?
I'm looking forward to it, Joe.
You are.
Yeah.
What about your first 2 weeks at the West Ham club? Anything excited you there? Their training methods or anything that has been slightly different?
It's harder.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's much harder. Yeah, more running.
That's rather interesting because a lot of people would not think that perhaps Ron Greenwood was a manager who really belted his players.
They said I've only been doing it a couple of weeks.
Mm.
You know.
Any kind of training, I think, when it's different, when you go from one club to another, it always seems hard because it's not the training you've been doing.
No.
Anyway, good luck with the training.
Thank you.
Good luck with what I'm sure will be a very good future for you. Thank you for being on the programme.
Thank you.
And now more action, and it comes from Old Trafford, Manchester United against West Bromwich Albion. In fact, it seems, as I said at the start of the programme, we so often write off Dennis Law, but now you're going to see a fine goal that he scores against the Albion. Manchester United, of course, are the team in the dark shirts.
Brian Kidd. Law dangerously loose at the back of the penalty area. Now it wants the quick long one. Charlton, Aston! Aston the scorer! John Aston! No, it's been disallowed for offside. No doubt what that gesture means, in spite of the bewilderment on the faces of the Manchester United players. The disapproval of the crowd, of course, means nothing. A lot of the people giving that decision the bird are behind the goal and certainly by no means square with play. But it really looked as though United had gone ahead then. Burns. And Aspel is away, pursued by Ewer. Good ball to Brown. Brown! It's in!
So Albion ahead, but now Manchester United fight back in the second half.
Done to Aston. Kidd. Dunn is away down the left wing. Now that's the sort of offence that Jack Charlton was booked for in the match against United last week. Deliberate handball. Mr. Nippard doesn't treat it in the same way. Law, offside. And the referee has given it. No, he hasn't. No, he's given the free kick. Hartford. Vitty away. And that's Rivers. No need for him to stretch for it. It was a comfortable goal kick, in fact. So 14 minutes left, and a foul given there against West Bromwich Albion of pushing the back on Kidd. Merrick, the offender. Albion seeming to accept that having got one goal, they're unlikely now to get two, and so just desperate to keep United out. Fitzpatrick. And Law! Dennis Law! Paul Edwards. Ian York. Charlton asking for a short pass, but you're looking for the long one. Not a good one. Astle. Cantello. You're reading that well, putting Best away. Aston with room to operate, but he couldn't control it. It was bouncing awkwardly for him. Hartford. These United players feeling that they played so well at Leeds last week and a little unlucky to get only 1 point. Now looking anxiously for the second here. Law. Best waiting for the pullback. Kidd's header! Brian Kidd! Quick goal by Kidd! The Stretford end rise to acclaim the old and the new kings. Dennis Law's cross, Brian Kidd's glancing header, and Manchester United go 2-1 in front with more than 10 minutes to go.
So you see what I mean about Dennis Law. He scored one and he made one. The pictures come from Granada Television. The commentator there was Gerald Sinstadt. Now it's time to look at one or two of your letters. The first one comes from Graham Tilbrook of West Ham, London E15. After watching last week's programme, I'm convinced, he says, that the throw leading to the last Queen's Park Rangers goal was a foul throw. The offending player, says Graham, appeared to have his foot well over the line at the moment of delivery. At least it gives us a chance to look at that Rodney Marsh goal yet again.
Well, in fact, the sun was shining so much on that line that it isn't clear from the picture, but I can assure you that his foot was behind the line. I've looked at it a few times, but it does give us a chance, as Brian says, to look at Rodney, the spectacular Rodney, with this fantastic goal. There's the drag back, there's the feint, right foot to the left foot, and there's the two players colliding, and as the defender lifts his leg, it goes straight between his two legs and into the back of the net.
Well, we called that a hat-trick, and that brought a howl from a number of viewers, Mr. H. Hull of Belfast being one of them, saying surely a hat-trick is 3 consecutive goals, and that's what Rodney Marsh did not score against Birmingham last week. What is a hat-trick?
Well, in cricket, of course, it is 3 consecutive wickets, but in football, traditionally through the years, it's generally been accepted that if you get 3 goals in a match, then the boys are happy to credit you with a hat-trick.
Well, from viewers' letters to a VIP phone call that we had this morning, in fact, from Martin Peters. He was very annoyed, in fact, by an article that appeared in the People newspaper this morning, a book review on Martin's book on the World Cup. Peter Bonetti carries the can, although in this book, Martin Peters says, I must be honest and say that I thought that Peter should have had the first German goal, that is, in the quarter-final in Mexico, and would indeed have had it 9 times out of 10. But he thinks that that perhaps gives the wrong impression of what he really felt about Peter Bonetti's performance out there, and he's asked the Big Match to apologise on behalf of him, Martin Peters, to Peter Bonetti on the interpretation in that newspaper this morning. That we're happy to do. The last letter comes from Mr. R.S. Tutton of Southgate, who says, Dear Mr. Moore, in 50 years of soccer enthusiasm, I cannot recall seeing 2 scruffier-looking teams than those you showed last Sunday, Queen's Park Rangers and Birmingham. He says that most of the players look like caveman, and is it the television cameras that do that? Well, we thought you might have a little bit of fun with us and look at 1 or 2 players as they were without long hair and as they are now with long hair. First of all, of course, the man you couldn't leave out of this little sequence, George Best, with hair, as it is now, almost onto his shoulders, indeed well onto his shoulders, and George Best, as he was a few years ago, still fairly long, I suppose, by some standards, but a good deal shorter than it is now. There's the first one, George Best. The next we come to is Charlie Cook, there with a moustache and all of Chelsea, and Charlie Cook, I suppose a lot would say, looking a lot tidier, I'm not sure that I would agree, a few years ago. There's Charlie Cook. The next one we come to, Peter Marinello of Arsenal, as he is now, and Peter Marinello, as perhaps a lot of Scottish viewers would remember him, a few years ago. And the last one, I think this might surprise you most of all. David Webb, as he was with a crew cut and a Southampton shirt a few years ago, and David Webb looking like, I suppose, Mr. Tutton's caveman, although in fairness to David, he has had that beard now cut off in the Chelsea shirt. All these footballers with so much hair on their faces, I wonder who really could have started it all off. I wonder. Well, our last match today is the one that drew the biggest crowd yesterday, 106,000 to Hampden Park, the Scottish League Cup final between Celtic and Rangers. In fact, we had a letter on that one as well from Mr. Keith Anderson of Helens Bay, County Down. He says, I'm writing to you in the hope that I shall prevent the big match from contravening the Trade Descriptions Act this weekend by advertising the big match this Sunday and not showing the Scottish League Cup final between Rangers and Celtic from Hampden Park, because Mr. Keith Anderson from Ireland, obviously feels that this is the big match. We're happy to oblige.
Henderson to McDonald. Johnston. Steen and Derry Johnson out in front. It's there. Centre forward Johnston scores. A beautiful header from Willie Johnston's cross. 5 minutes from half time. Jardine downfield to Steen. Steen forcing his way through. Out to Johnston. Centre forward Johnston at the far post. And what a save from Williams. That ball deflected. Tremendous shot from Johnston and a magnificent save by Evan Williams. Well, the throw taken by Murdoch again. Johnston.
So now we're in the second half.
Fine run by Murdoch. Out in front and a chance for Wallace. Beautiful run by Murdoch there. Neil to Lennox. Jardine gives it to Johnston. Johnston lining up for a shot. Murdoch working desperately hard to try and create the opening Celtic one to get them the equaliser. McNeil, a prodigious header down towards Connolly. Breaks forward towards Johnston. Johnston with a chance now. Macari, good save. Henderson looking for Steen. Ball hits the inside of the post. Came back out to Williams. Tremendous ending to the match. And there's the moment the Rangers fans have waited for a long time. Ron McKinnon holds up the League Cup.
Well, certainly a change with that cup going to the Rangers boardroom. Can't, I suppose, be such a bad thing after all for Scottish football. Commentator there, Arthur Montford, and a busy week coming up for football for teams in the big match area, at any rate in the Football League Cup. On Tuesday, Bristol Rovers against Birmingham and Fulham against Swindon. And on Wednesday, Crystal Palace against Arsenal, Leicester against Bristol City, Manchester United against Chelsea, and Spurs against West Bromwich Albion. That's all from the big match today. Hope you'll join me for On the Ball next Saturday. Big match next Sunday. Let's have one more look at that very good goal indeed by Tony Brown of West Bromwich Albion against Manchester United yesterday.
And Aston is away, pursued by Ure. Good ball to Brown. Brown!